Now I continue today in 1 Timothy chapter 3 and verse number 3. I've been dealing with the qualifications of the bishop. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach, not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous. I want to deal today with the matter of patient, but patient. These qualifications are all, in my estimation, of equal weight. We elevate the matter of the husband of one wife to the point that we make that the only qualification of the bishop. And so long as the bishop's marriage is right, and he's only been married one time in the course of his life, then he's qualified to pastor a church. But that is not entirely so. There are a lot of men that have only been married one time that, as far as I can discern from this passage, are entirely disqualified from pastoring a church. The matter of blamelessness, vigilance. A lot of men are lazy. They're disqualified from the pastorate. Sober. There are some men that are nothing but jokesters and second-rate comedians. Of good behavior. There are some men that are of bad behavior. Given to hospitality. There are some men that have no hospitality at all. Apt to teach. There are some men that have no ability at all to teach. Not given to wine. What do we do about the fact that it is debated now among ministers whether or not it is proper to drink socially, and many ministers place their stamp of approval upon the matter of social drinking. Not given to wine, no striker. There are some men that go to war with everything that moves. No striker. Not greedy of filthy lucre. And as far as I'm concerned, that disqualifies many men. I'm afraid that we have entered an era of the celebrity pastor or the celebrity minister. And there are men that are going into the ministry because it beats working. And they're going into the ministry to make a fortune. They're going into the ministry to build a financial empire and a financial juggernaut. Now, I've never put a price on my ministry, and I go out and preach in meetings and have for 40 years gone out and held meetings. And I've preached in churches where on the closing night of the revival on Wednesday night we'd have 12 people or 15 people. And I've never laid a price upon my ministry that you have to guarantee me so much money per night before I will come. But that is, I don't think that's the general rule among men. If I'm able to have any observation at all, there are some men that are in the ministry as a means of making a profit. They are in the ministry as a means of generating a large income, not greedy of filthy lucre. Today we move on to the matter of patience, but patient. A bishop then must be patient. Now, how am I to understand this matter of patient? Well, whenever I start to understand the word patience, what is patience? Now, a man that is patient is a man that is possessed of patience. And this area, patience, is the matter of suffering afflictions. A man that can suffer pain, toil, a man that can suffer calamity, a man that can suffer the provocations of others to evil, but he suffers their provocations with a very calm and an unruffled temperament. It is a man that can endure without murmuring or without fretfulness. So patience springs from a number of things. There are, and again, I think one of the reasons that Paul lays out these qualifications of the bishop is not every preacher, in my estimation, is cut out to be a bishop. Not every man called of God to preach is called of God to pastor. I've never pastored a church. I've been in the ministry right at 40 years, and I've never pastored a church. And as far as I can discern, if I have any discernment at all, I will finish my race having never pastored a church. God has never opened a door. I've never solicited a pastorate. I've never tried to get called by a church. I've never turned in a resume to a church for them to call me. I've been considered by a number of churches, but I've never submitted a resume and tried to get on a short list to be called to pastor a church. I wonder sometimes if I have the temperament to pastor a local assembly. There's no doubt in my mind that I have a temperament to preach, that I have a temperament to teach, that I have a temperament to expound the Scriptures. In fact, my ministry has been identified many times as that of a teaching ministry, and one of my friends calls me a teacher preacher, and I appreciate that. This area of patience may spring from one's constitutional fortitude. There are some men that are given to worry, and there are other men that are given to calmness. And a man that is given to worry and a man that is given to fret, I don't know that that man can be classified by the Bible as having the matter of patience. Patience is also defined as a calm temperament, being of a calm temperament which bears evil without murmuring and without discontent. Now, we are living in an age of murmuring and an age of discontent. And there are a lot of things going on in society that are wrong as far as I am concerned. A lot of protest, a lot of rebellion, a lot of anarchy has gone on in the year 2020. And I think much of it has been in opposition to the, in an effort to keep Mr. Trump from being reelected. This imagined evils, if you please, and imagined injustices. People crying out, we want justice, we want justice. And I observe and I'm trying to find out where an injustice has been committed. A calm temperament that bears evil without murmuring and discontent. Now, anyone that enters into the ministry, you know as well as I do, that people are people. And even in our churches, people are people. And church people are people. In the final analysis, church people are still people. And seeing that church people are still people, they have people problems. They have problems that go along with being people, and they will act like people. And anytime you get a body of people together, you're going to have some discontentment and some murmuring. And that murmuring and discontentment is going to get into the church telegraph, and it's going to be voiced around. Now, a man that is of a patient temperament is not going to go to war with the women in the church that might be critical. Now, if this thing breaks out into a coup and becomes a public dispute, then that should be addressed publicly in the pulpit. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, well, the preacher put red carpet in the church and I so wanted blue, and I just think I'll never be happy here because I wanted blue carpet and the preacher put red carpet in the church. That's the kind of murmuring I'm talking about. There are some battles that are not worth fighting, and there are some hills that are not worth dying on. The area of patience is a quality of having of waiting long for justice and expecting good to come without becoming discontent. Now, you and I live in a push-button society. We live in an instant grits age. We live in a Keurig coffee age. And you push a button and you have your coffee in 2 minutes. Rather than having to wait for it to perk in a percolator on the stove. And we want justice now. We want justice to be served now. When people backbite and stab us in the back and criticize us, we want justice to be meted out now. I want to see justice upon them. But Solomon warns me in the book of Proverbs that I am not to take pleasure in the calamity even of an enemy. A man that is my enemy, I am not to take pleasure in his calamity. And so there has to be a longness, a waitingness in the area of justice to be meted out and justice to be served. Then again, patience carries the idea of perseverance. Perseverance. An ability to stick with it. An ability to stay at the job. I've known preachers in the course of my ministry and they never stayed anywhere. And some of these men are not nearly as old as I am, and they pastored a dozen churches or more. They won't stay anywhere. And that man, a man that won't stay anywhere, as far as I'm concerned, is not qualified to be a bishop, based upon 1 Timothy 3 and verse number 3. The man has no enduring quality. He doesn't endure a place. All of us, the new wears off of everything. Everything you own, the new wears off of it. Your automobiles, your suit of clothes, a pair of shoes, a wristwatch, a gold ring. The new wears off everything. What do you do with that item after the new wears off of it? And the new wears off. Every pastor and every congregation becomes old at some point. They all become old hat. You become familiar with them. You know their names, and you know their problems, and you know their difficulties. And a lot of men stay at a church until they learn the people, and the people learn them. They pack their bags, and they move on. That is not the definition of the area of patience. My time is gone. I'll continue with this by the grace of God on tomorrow.
You may write the Bright Spot Hour at Post Office Box 4, Greenville, South